This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite teams' out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple: products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another Shades of Blue soccer show. The World Cup rolls on. A wild and emotional World Cup rolls on. Friday was one of the most insane days of sports that I can remember. It was one of the most fun times I've ever had watching any sport. And it is just wild to think about what was going on at the same time with Grant Wall. I guess we gotta start off with Grant Wall here, at least for a brief period. I know it's been some time here. We've all talked about it a lot, and it's hit everybody, most people, pretty hard here. So we should at least say something. Grant Wall. I mean, it doesn't seem real that, like, I was ready to listen to his podcast like the next day. Today, I was looking forward to it. You can still, his tweets still pop up, and yeah, it's just it doesn't seem like a real thing. He was American soccer journalism, and it just feels like there's a massive hole there now, let alone all of the outpouring of support. And I always knew he was like such a good guy, but I can't even believe all of the stories that I've been reading. I've been sitting and scrolling through all of them. It's good to see that, but man, it's a sad time right now.
Yeah, sorry, I agree. It's a lot. He's leaving a big hole in journalism for soccer. So many great stories that he uncovered and talked about and investigated, and put pressure on U.S. soccer, put pressure on international soccer to do the right things. He will be very much he'll be very much missed for that.
Yeah, putting pressure on there is a big part of that. Yeah, I don't know how much longer we can. I don't know how much more energy I have to expel on it, or the longer we talk about it, I think it will go into a direction I don't necessarily want to go, with some questions surrounding circumstances of the death. So let's do what Grant would probably like to do and was doing during this abhorrent World Cup, which is still covering the games. And so let's try to find the funny here, and we can maybe make fun of David for Brazil exiting the World Cup.
Wow.
Is that
wow.
Was that an okay way to go about this?
Oh yeah.
Why are you hurting me? Why?
I needed to
It cuts down to his very soul.
Oh God,
David. But David, you got to get it out, man. You can't hold it inside.
So bad. No, I mean, look, I think the Brazil loss has been really reflective of a lot of the knockout rounds, that teams in this tournament don't want to play open because you don't want to get exposed and get beat. Croatia played a super compact defense. They looked great. Neymar, I don't know if anybody's seen that goal. It was an incredible team goal, really. And then, I mean, masterclass from Neymar. It shows why he's, one of the top 10 players in the world. And then they got gashed. And then they got smoked in a transition moment, like we've seen Sporting do 1,000 times. And then it goes to PKs. PKs are kind of a crapshoot.
What happened there was that they were Brazil and they thought it was their divine right to win the World Cup like they always do. And then they got complacent and got scored on and got beaten by a tough, gritty team.
Wow. Okay. Well, I do think Argentina, it brings up
almost did it too. I'm as a loudly Celeste supporter, like they literally almost did the exact same thing like an hour later.
How many wows can we get out of David today? I think that's 3 now.
I do think,
not denying any of it though.
I do think it brings up an interesting strategy thing though, which is that Neymar never got to kick the ball in penalty kicks.
Yeah,
and Chiche, the Brazilian national team coach, former national team coach, had said, we were holding Neymar back because the 5th penalty is a big one, and he's got the most gravitas. He's the one built for that pressure. And that led to a massive debate in the soccer community of, if you hold a guy back, he may never get to kick the ball.
Exactly.
And it's important to start on a good foot. So would you rather Neymar kick 1, or do you want to kick 3rd? Right. Because you're guaranteed 3.
Yeah.
Well, look what Argentina did with Messi. He was first.
Right. So it was interesting. That first miss by Brazil was not good.
They set up a 21-year-old to do that. That was
hey, that 21-year-old has more skill in his left pinky toe than you've got in your whole body, Cody. No, I have no defense for it.
Well, Cody may say in the media game, my head had quite a bit of skill, so maybe his noggin and the little toe are equal. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, for the record, someone else said it, not me.
Is that a worse miss than Harry Kane?
Oh God, Kane's.
Harry's was pretty bad. He shouldn't have taken it. That was another one that they probably should have had somebody else take against a longtime teammate.
Why?
The second one in a game. I don't know. I was with Jimmy Conrad on that.
Right.
I understand if there's one guy on one team that you would that's the guy that takes our PKs. He's going to do it every time. Then it would maybe be Harry Kane. But against his teammate of a decade, I don't know. I just when that came up, I felt like he was going to miss it.
I think, statistically, Harry Kane has made some astronomical number of penalty kicks. I mean, he almost never misses, and his shots are almost never blocked. So I think from just a pure statistic and probability standpoint, I mean, he's as sure of a thing as you've got. But it also the number of penalty kicks we've seen leads me to the other thing I found interesting is the different ways that people take their PKs.
The
Athletic did an article on this maybe a year ago, but if you just run and blast the ball as hard as you can, chances are you're going to score.
Yeah,
because even if it's not well placed, keepers can't react quickly enough if you just crush the ball at the net. But then you see a lot of guys get really cute where they do like the stutter step, the pause, or like they try to do a Panenka or, all sorts of stuff. And, like that bit Chicharito in the ass earlier this year against Sporting, where he tried to get cute on a penalty kick.
The cute stuff is the worst. Like, what is even going through the player's head when they do that? It's just, that is how you get yourself into trouble during penalty kicks. The odds are ever in your favor. Go up there and kick the ball. What are you doing? Like,
you're inviting a lot of other things that could impact what you're doing.
The worst. Those 2 games, the games on Friday, were absolutely amazing. Messi advanced. I fully thought that was over once that the Netherlands had tied that back up. I was like, there's no way coming back from this. I was imagining Lionel Messi, who's had his problems in PKs. I was imagining him missing his penalty kick, and I don't think my heart could have handled that. But yeah, they moved on. We get more Messi in the World Cup, more Messi in La Albi Celeste. It's a gift to us all. David, your thumbs down be damned. It's a gift to us all that Messi gets to continue playing and we get to witness it.
Can we talk about Morocco?
Hell
Yeah.
yes.
Can we talk about Morocco?
And not even just in the sense that they beat Ronaldo, got Ronaldo out of there, which is great for them. Thank you for that. But no, they're just a wonderful team to watch. Holy crap. It's a fun team. Fancy footed, high flying. Like it's just, they're an entertaining, fun team.
They are so defensively solid. Defensively solid.
It's so rare from a team that plays like that with flicks and 1-2s. And yeah, it's a sound team. And I'm very happy that a non South American and Europe team made it to the Final Four, as it were.
So I've got a piece that will be coming out on thebluetestament.com, which you should all go check out. That will be coming out after the World Cup, but it's talking about transfer market inefficiencies and ways to build the roster when you've got a salary cap in ways that might be unique for the league. And essentially the theory of this whole piece is that Sporting KC should be recruiting more African players and more Asian players because they're not highly represented in the league. And the salaries in the domestic leagues over there are pretty low. Transfer costs are very low. When you see players moving in and out of Tunisia and Morocco, the transfer fees being paid are extremely low. And so you've got guys who are world class that play for teams that have made the World Cup, that are, top 25, top 40 ranked in the world, who don't have an international market. And I think, there's certainly some arguments against it, and the travel is really bad if they ever want to go home and everything. But the idea of using maybe the U22 initiative moving forward to go find young African players from Cameroon and Senegal and Morocco and Tunisia and bring them over here to give them a platform to then sell them. And I know that's not really how Peter envisions this team, but I think it's a way that Sporting could build for the future and find a toehold where the rest of the league isn't really recruiting.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is all four of us volunteer to go over and scout, on Sporting's money, of course. We'll do that job for him, right? We'll do that.
Yeah, I'll go to Morocco.
I have volunteered in the past, and it didn't work.
David, my point is that I think, teams get locked into where they do have scouts and connections, and that's where they pull from because they have people on the ground. And, I agree with you, David, but they're going to need to break into that market somehow, find a connection, make a connection if they don't have one.
I agree with that. But what I always think while watching the World Cup, I have that thought all the time of, like, I've noticed some young player and it's like, oh no, he's not very well known. Like, man, that guy, I bet he's going to be good. And it's like, okay, we're thinking that. And if we're thinking that in the US, then I think all of the big clubs are thinking this as well. Like, they want to go find these young guys in Africa and buy them right now when they're that cheap as well. So I have that same thought, but then I go back to it of like, well, everyone is also thinking this as well. Like, oh, there's a bunch of young untapped talent in Africa that we should go get. Like, yeah, I think Chelsea and all of the big clubs are aware of that too. I don't know. For instance, like the guy, I can't even think of his name now, the Croatian right back. Like 5 minutes into that game, I'm like, oh, this guy is great. Well, this guy should come to MLS. Let's hire him. And then he made like 2 more plays. And I'm like, okay, well, now he's too expensive because the rest of the world is watching as well. And every play you make in the World Cup like this, you're just adding more money to how much you're worth. So
yeah, but sheer volume, right? I mean, there's plenty over there to choose from.
Yes, that is very true. The sheer volume in Africa and Asia, for sure.
Well, and it's also a matter of what nation are you looking at? Because, for instance, Senegal, the entire Senegalese first team, national team plays in top 5 leagues in Europe. They're all playing for Chelsea and for AC Milan and everything. But if you look at the Senegal U23 team, they're almost all domestic, right? But then the Tunisian national team is a really mixed bag. A lot of those guys are playing domestically, or they're playing in North Africa. You get guys at like Pyramids FC in Egypt. So Tunisia and Morocco are less. You're getting guys who are less likely to be in top 5 leagues in Europe. The Moroccan national team, it's a mixed bag. Like Ashraf Hakimi is obviously maybe the best right back in the world. And they've got guys who play for Munich, and they've got
but a lot
Hakim
of them
Ziyech.
a lot of them are not even actually Moroccan born, right? Isn't that a knock I've been seeing on that national team?
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of guys who are from like Spain and France because there's a large Moroccan population in that part of Europe. But you've got guys like the guy who got the red card for Morocco yesterday, which was, by the way, an incredibly soft second yellow.
Yeah, it was. He did kind of stomp though.
But like, I think it's Shadira. He plays for a team in Serie B in Italy, and so he's 24. He's a start. He's getting minutes at the World Cup, but he's playing the Italian second division. That's the kind of person that like Sporting could at least make a run at.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about some other Sporting KC stuff, and maybe someone else Sporting KC could sign. So we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
All right. Quick break. Very quick break. Again, we're famous for that on this show. Very quick breaks. Sporting KC. David, we were just talking about players Sporting KC could sign, MLS could sign. There's a rumor this week about Matt Hedges and Sporting Kansas City. How do you feel about the potential of Matt Hedges, longtime MLS center back, coming to Sporting KC?
Bad. Is that an answer? Bad? Can I say bad?
Yeah.
Well, he is 32.
Look, Matt Hedges is a 32-year-old center back who made $900,000 last year. If we wanted Matt Hedges, why wouldn't we just keep Izzy? I'm not sure Matt Hedges is any better than Izzy. In fact, I feel pretty strongly that he's not.
Because he wouldn't take an international spot.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, I would rather take the international spot and trade whatever Damn Sam, whatever the hell we have to trade to get the international spot to have like a quality player.
I was going to say, can't we trade and get an international slot? Isn't that one of those things you can do?
Yeah. I mean, Matt Hedges has been around the league for a very long time. He's adequate. He's adequate, but
for $900K
for 9 or more, right? That was what he made last year. In free agency, I'm sure he's asking for a raise. He's 32. I hope this is not true. From the reporting of Tom Bogert, who reported this on MLSsoccer.com, Toronto, San Jose, and FC Cincinnati have actually made offers, while Houston and Kansas City are interested.
Yeah, I think we're down the pecking order there. Yeah,
but he wants 3 guaranteed years, and I'll just point back to what happened with Matt Besler, and I don't think Matt Hedges has at any point been better than Matt Besler.
But Kyrie Shelton got 3.
Robert, I will come through this Zoom and just slap you. Stop it. Stop it.
And 30-some-odd-year-old Andrea Fontes got 2.
1+1, right? Or it was.
I do think there's a very distinct difference in skill level between Fontes and Hedges when we talk about Fontes' passing and the goals added. Right. But also the fact that we re-signed Fontes shows why Matt Hedges is probably not the best choice. We've lamented for years now about Andreu's lack of pace. I don't know that pairing a not fleet-footed 32-year-old with him for the next few years is the best idea.
Now, I don't know what we can read into Peter saying we need a right center back. Is he talking depth? Is he talking he doesn't think Courtney Ford's the man? What do you guys think?
I would say depth, just because rarely Peter is going to outright say something like that about a player.
Well, sure. Yeah, but is Courtney Ford the man or not? I mean, we're talking about Matt Hedges. He would obviously, you would think, a start ahead of Courtney Ford. I'm not a big Courtney Ford fan, but I know some of you guys are. What do you guys truly think? And
Depth competition there is necessary for this upcoming season, I would say.
sure.
Yeah, I don't know whether to think of Ford as a starter yet or not. I mean, I'm a little higher on him than you are, but that's not meaning that I think he should be the starter for just outright starter. So I would still be looking for a guy who would be penciled in as a starter, and then Ford would be constantly challenging.
Mhm.
And the same for Volader. He can be challenging both sides. I don't care which foot he is.
Speaking of Courtney Ford, did you see that all of the holes in the socks all throughout this World Cup?
Yeah, I've been
Socks
looking for that and seeing
everywhere.
that. Yeah. They
Courtney's a
started a
trendsetter.
trend. Yeah.
Which shouldn't this indicate, like, shouldn't they be talking to like Kitman about getting different socks if they
That's
really need?
That's the part of this conversation I didn't bring up when we were interviewing him. Like, well, why can't we just get bigger socks? Like, why are we actually cutting holes in them? Like, is this not something that you can just get bigger socks?
No, because well, for one, it's what Adidas makes, so they have to technically do those, but then they cheat with those other type of socks sometimes. But from what I understand is that none of them stretch enough initially when they're new, and they get new socks for each game. So if they were using old socks, they would stretch enough, and it wouldn't be a problem. So
So
that's where.
why don't they like break him in like the day before? I have a lot of questions. Like I watched
Well, who's going to break them in? They might get cramps. They might get.
You're on
so
a mannequin.
They might
with some
hurt
massive
themselves.
calves, and then just have it over there overnight.
There you go.
And then
Good
never
idea.
stop.
like
Speaking of
I was
socks,
I was home with my kid last week, and I was watching with one of my children last week, and I was watching a YouTube video because God knows why about like how the NFL breaks in brand new footballs. They like have a whole process where they like rub stuff on it and then like use sandpaper to like
what are they rubbing on it?
get a, like they have all sorts of like leather and like oils and like whatever, but then they work the ball in. So they take it out of the plastic and then they do a bunch of stuff to get the ball game ready. We can't like take Kitman out there and just like have him pull on the socks a little bit.
I assume Major League Baseball does a similar thing.
I got a lot of questions.
Speaking of socks and Grant Wall, this is weird, but he wrote a story on this certain kind of socks that soccer players were becoming obsessed with and taking fines for instead of wearing the proper stuff. And for whatever reason, I still think of this article. He wrote an article like 7 years ago about socks, and it's something I still think of like on a semi-regular basis. Anyway, it's about True Socks. Go look at that. Yeah. It's very interesting. And yes,
I think they get away with it now because it was a big deal. Kai Kamara actually like challenged him because he got fined for it.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You have to like tape. You used to have to like tape them down so you couldn't see any of because they just have the sleeves essentially, and you'd have to tape them down so you couldn't see any of the true sock. But if you get fined, if they could see it, so I think they may have stopped finding it or just technically ignore it.
Also, at the just a couple years ago, Grant, in Googling about to find that article, he tweeted it and said, "Still amazed 5 years later how many soccer players take scissors to their socks so they can wear True Socks instead." Nice. Okay. Anyway, back to Sporting KC and Courtney Ford and the center backs. No mention of Robert Volader. Are we all just assuming he is not ready? He's not going to push for this spot?
Thad mentioned him.
I mentioned him.
Okay, I wasn't listening.
What'd you say?
I was Googling about socks, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, he had a poor performance late in the season. A couple games later, came back and it definitely improved on that. Maybe showed some growth there. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he is one for the future, and I hope he gets significant time this season and we can spells Andreu and get some further growth.
One of 3 young internationals that were brought in last year. David, you posed the question of, does a lack of internationals have an impact on what Sporting Kansas City's ceiling might be for the upcoming season or seasons?
Yeah, and it's, obviously an interesting question given how strongly we finished the season last year without really a lot of internationals on the roster. Johnny Russell's in and out of Scotland, but more out than in. But it's, it's tough to not look at LAFC and the Philadelphia Union and see that they've got guys who have been playing at the World Cup, in addition to Garrett Bale, which, by the way, I have a feeling that LAFC is going to run into the same problems that the LA Galaxy did with their like roster accounting and how they've got like Chiellini and Gareth Bale, but they are not DPs.
Oh yeah.
But Jose Cifuentes, was playing for Ecuador. Acosta's on the U.S. national team and got minutes. Then they've got guys who didn't
graduated from William Jewell.
They've got guys who didn't make the World Cup, whose squads didn't make the World Cup, but like Dennis Bouanga is a international and he's a designated player for them for Gabon, plays with Aubameyang. And so, and then the Union have Daniel Gazdag, who's an international for Hungary, Andre Blake for Jamaica. And so it's tough to look at other teams who are putting out, national team players, and then you compare it to us and we just don't. So what do you guys think? Does that set a ceiling on our ability on where we can really reach?
I see. So international, you meant representing their international teams.
Yes.
And yeah, I do think that's an issue, especially when you look at how MLS like had the fifth most World Cup players of any league in the world.
Well, it obviously makes us fifth best, right?
Right, but that also means a lot of other teams had players on their rosters, and Sporting KC was not one of them. Is that a problem, Thad?
It can be when you don't have enough good players, but it's also the flip side of you don't lose players to international duty. You don't lose them to get injured and when they're playing stupid friendlies for Mexico or so that's the good side of not having guys who are in a constant rotation with the national team. They're also getting rest when they're not with the national team if they have an international break. So there's the positives to that side. It's almost good to have the guys who are fringe, like almost there, but not quite there.
The Daniel Shallowies?
Yeah. Johnny Russells.
Johnny is kind of on the fringe, is he not?
Yeah, but I mean, that's not the highest level national team there, but yeah.
Right.
Where you get players from France and Germany like we've done, and they're very, very good, but not one of the best 11 and two of the best soccering countries in the world.
Gadi Kinda, of course, depending on how he comes back, but he's been with his national team, so.
Yeah, so Cody makes a really good point about, if you're getting players that were maybe like U20, U23 players, but not national team players for places like France and England and Italy and stuff like that, Germany, that's really good quality players that probably could have been on the national team for the US at least at one point.
Right.
So it's just that level of player. So I do understand what David means, and it's good to have that level of player, but Kansas City is not going to go for the Bales, the Zlatans, that sort of thing too much. So if it's what level can you get? I mean, you're not going to get a starting England national team player to come to Sporting Kansas City unless you're going to give them basically $1 billion.
Well, I think
I don't like hearing you actually say the sentence. I know that in my head, but hearing you say it just hurts.
Well,
you made David hurt earlier, so I was just trying to help.
I think this goes back to what we've talked about before with roster build about where do you recruit from? And we know Vermees likes Spanish, Portuguese, French, and then players. And then he likes, Hungarian and kind of the like Croatian and some of the Eastern European guys. And
the Israeli league.
And you're gonna struggle to find internationals when you're recruiting from Spain and Portugal. But there's like South America, Cifuentes is from Ecuador. Ecuador has a great national team. Peru has a great national team, and Raul Ruidiaz is an international for Peru who plays for Seattle Sounders. So it's just, I guess, the club's preference on where and how to recruit. I will say the one maybe most interesting person on our roster, and one that makes me maybe the happiest moving forward in terms of this conversation, is Logan Ndenbe, who's a Belgian youth international, and he may never make the Belgian full national team, but he's getting capped, I mean, fairly regularly for, I think Belgium was ranked second in the world this year for their full national side.
Yeah,
And
they're on the downside of their golden generation. Logan might make that team eventually.
How they do in the World Cup?
Exactly. That marked the end of their golden generation.
Well, David, to your question, sad example, Bale. In a moment, a player like that can elevate a team, and make a difference in playoffs, in a playoff chase, if you will. But then you look at Columbus Crew a couple of years ago, it was Zelarayan who did that. Zelarayan, I don't think, has many caps with the senior national team, if any. That's the kind of player that Sporting, in my opinion, needs to find someone of that level. I don't think we need to go any larger than that. I mean, if we can, great. But that's the level we should be looking at. Someone who can raise the level in those moments and make a difference in those moments. Polito was supposed to be that guy, but we all know how that worked out. So
I'm going to ask you a trivia question, Robert, because you referenced Lucas Zelarayan, who I'm a huge fan of. What national team would he play for?
Well, I want to say Argentina.
So he was born in Argentina, but he represents Armenia.
Armenia, okay.
And is a full Armenian international.
How many caps?
6.
Okay. Yeah.
Did they just file him under the wrong folder or something from Argentina to Armenia? What?
His father is he's of Armenian descent through his father, and probably saw it as an easier way to get on a national team than fighting.
Right. When's the last time he played for him?
The second, recently. He was in the 2022 World Cup qualifiers.
Okay.
But probably easier to make that squad than Cody's second best South American squad.
But no, Polito was supposed to be that guy, right? Who would be our international guy who would raise our team's level in those moments, and just hasn't worked out.
So we are hoping. Go ahead.
I was just say they just didn't order the extra knee parts that was needed for upkeep.
So we are hoping Sporting signs someone else. It feels like the offseason just started, and it kind of just did, but at the same time, there's also not a lot of time left. So they need to get going on that if it's going to happen. The Current just signed 2 free agents, and the signings looked pretty good from what I can see. They looked excited to be here. Thad, can you tell us about the new additions to the KC Current?
Yeah, I would love to. Both players played for Chicago Red Stars last few years together. They've Vanessa DiBarnardo and Morgan Gautreau. You might know her as Morgan Bryan. She played 88 games with a full U.S. national team, couple of World Cups. If it wasn't for a couple of injuries, she might be as well known as Sam Ewis. But she did have a couple of injuries, so she's been part of one of the best midfields in the NWSL. Probably you could say she's a 6/8 or an 8/6, however you want to say it. She can play a lot of different spots if she needed to. Vanessa DiBernardo, who is originally from Chicago, went to university like right near Chicago, was drafted by the Red Stars, basically been there her whole career. Both of them signed for 2 years, but Vanessa is more of a 8/10. Both of them are really good with they were in the top couple percentile for progressive passes. Both of them are going to help the Current have a much more solid, calm midfield, where last year they were, as soon as they get the ball, they would go forward and often turn the ball over and then have to recover and defend. So these two will definitely help that be a lot more organized, calm, better progressive passes to some of the players that they couldn't get the ball to earlier or last season. So they're both, everybody was like hoping they would get one of them, and then they got both of them. So it's just a really good pair of signings for Kansas City.
Yeah, and for a guy who at this point hasn't really followed the current much, this just gets me more excited to go check out more matches and to follow the team. And also, I love the way they introduce their players on Twitter.
Yeah,
the way
that was
they do
good.
it. Yeah.
Also, is Sam Ewis going to be returning next year? Like, I mean, back from injury. I mean, is she will be healthy, I guess.
I have no faith in that, honestly.
Oh, really?
She was last season, she played that little bit, then she'd already been hurt before that. She played that little bit and then was shut down and then seemed to be coming back, was in full practice and then was shut down again. The last time I saw her last season, she was literally walking the outside of the field slowly. Like um
Hmm.
so it's one of those injuries I just have no idea if she'll ever come back from fully. I hope she does. I wish her all the best. She's one of the best players the US has and the current has, or at least potentially. Every time we ask about it, it's always well, she's day to day. We'll see. It's kind of spin. No definitive information ever.
Hey, Thad, going back to what we were talking about with sporting international players, quick rundown. How many full internationals does the current have on the roster right now?
Ooh, putting the man on the spot.
Man,
didn't even put that in the chat. He really surprised him with it.
let's see. Chloe Lagarzo from Australia. They let go the one goalie from Jamaica. Desiree Scott is still a free agent, so if she comes back, she would be a international. And just talking about players who play internationally, not necessarily taking up international spots, but
Yeah, right.
I think that's it off the top of my head. There might be one more.
And U.S. ones?
Well, Lynn Williams, if she's back healthy, would be at least in the mix. Sam Ewis, of course, if she was healthy, would definitely be in there. And then Haley Mace was called up last year for the first time for like 3 years, 4 years. I as much as I like her and as good as she is with the current, I think she's kind of borderline as a U.S. national team player.
I thought
Mhm.
French was also a borderline.
She is. She was a regular roster call up for a long time, and then just got her first call up again late this year. And I'm not sure if she will get back fully in the squad. Just age wise, you got to start looking at younger players.
So the other fairly recent news from the current that I was interested in, and the Comets as well, was that Jenna Winebrenner has been named an assistant coach, the first MASL female coach. How is this? Isn't she like 22? How is this even happening? I was very confused by this. Thad, tell me what this story means.
It means that she's preparing for her future. It's not going to take any time away from her playing. The so with the Comets, I think she's doing some stat stuff. She's doing a lot of some planning stuff that will take away a load off the more experienced indoor coaches. But she's also the one fun thing is when I've been up there a couple times, she's joined in training. So she's getting that extra training in the off season with against people who are bigger, stronger, faster, and so that can only make her a better player for next year.
Yeah, I like this. That's cool to hear that it's not even just soccer. She's already, planning for after soccer. We should have her on. Can we get her? Can we interview her?
Yes, I've already asked her to be on, and she said she'd be more than happy to.
Sweet. Okay, gentlemen, what else in the world of Kansas City soccer do we need to discuss?
Can't believe we haven't mentioned the super draft in 10 days. Come on.
We're still doing the draft?
And it's called Super as well, just in case you forgot how great it is.
Anybody expecting anything out of it? I mean, 8th pick, right?
Right. Depth.
I expect us to pass.
We'll draft a center back.
I expect an SKC2 player.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have one final thing. that, and because we're talking about the current and women's soccer, but Andrea Kimball, who is the general counsel and chief legal officer for Sporting KC, got named one of the top women executives in Kansas City. And one, that's just cool in general. But two, I wanted to give Andrea a shout out. She and I don't know each other, but my little sister is an attorney and wanted to work in sports for a long time. And she met Andrea, and Andrea was nice enough to give her some time and some mentorship and talk to her about some things. So I thought that was very generous of her when she had no real reason or need to do it, but was very generous with her time. So it's nice to see her get recognized.
Lawyers got each other's backs, I guess.
Yeah, they do.
It's a fraternity.
Not that often.
Okay, gentlemen. We've got Tuesday is the big day, right? Are the games Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the final is on Sunday right before NFL starts. I like that. I think Americans will watch this final next Sunday.
So Morocco, Croatia, is that what's going to be? What do you guys think?
Your lips to God's ears.
I would love it.
All I want, I don't care what happens. Only Messi to win a World Cup. I want Messi to win the World Cup, and everyone has to shut up. And that's all I want to happen. Whatever the easiest path for him to hoist that trophy is what I want.
So are you a Ronaldo hater?
Not like because of my like of Messi. I just have never liked the way he carries himself on the field, Ronaldo.
And I was thinking the only thing better than Neymar tears on the field was Ronaldo tears on the field.
Okay, good. You assume the role of the real hater here, and then I can yes as well. That made me happy. I liked those tears. I liked Portugal losing. I liked Pepe after the game accusing FIFA of rigging it so Messi will win a World Cup. I'm sorry, the logic of that is absurd. If FIFA is rigging anything, they're gonna rig it so Messi versus Ronaldo in the World Cup final. That's what they would have been doing. So Pep getting upset about that was another very tasty part of that.
Well, they did rig it for that. Portugal just screwed it up.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he just couldn't get his team to win. There you go.
Cody,
hey,
Messi will never. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
dude.
I was just say Messi will never be better than number 2 of all time. He'll never be better than Pele.
I agree with that. But hey, I was actually going to give you some kudos there. Your header was better than Ronaldo's off the tip of his hair header.
Give me some.
That's 2 kudos you got today for that one media game moment that you will have for your entire life as your only significant contribution to soccer. But other than that, I'm all for it.
I'm playing in the media game next year, and I am taking Cody out. I'm scissor tackle. I'm shredding his Achilles.
A header on goal.
No more headers.
Can you catch him?
It's a goal.
Yeah.
Cody Bradley of the Blue Testament with a header, putting Team Heartland up 1-0 with 30 seconds remaining. The side don't seem so tough, and 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.